the 8 o'clock hour.
We've got a lot to talk about this morning. We are joined this morning by Congressman Mike Turner. First, we want to talk about NASIC and the defense bill that is now sitting in the Senate. We're hoping that it'll be passed by the Senate this week, but it's $182 million that could be possibly coming to Wright-Pat. What does that mean for Wright-Pat and the Miami Valley?
Well, it certainly means job growth, and it means that the missions that are currently at NASIC, the National Air and Space Intelligence Center, are likely to remain and grow. There's a lot of other intelligence agencies that want to do the work that NASIC has done, and with the expansion, greater capability, greater analysis, it would ensure that NASIC would be able to continue. Now, this is a project that the president had put in his, the president's budget came over, but only partial funding. On the House side, we were able to get the full funding. The Senate's bill did not have the full funding. We've now sent the bill over to the Senate with full funding in it. So the entire building, $182 million, is in the bill that should go to the president. It is the largest single construction project that the Dayton Development Coalition is aware of in the last 50 years at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. This is a good sign. As we have increased spending, we have increased construction at Wright-Pat.
Which is absolutely incredible. $182 million coming specifically to Wright-Pat, which will really give them that edge, as you said, with NASIC. Now, it's sitting in the Senate, waiting on approval, hopefully this week. They will hopefully send it then to President Trump. How confident are you that the president will sign the bill?
Well, there's no signal currently that the president would veto the bill. In fact, most of the things that are in the bill, the president supports. The issue that's important here is that we have increased spending for our men and women in uniform, rebuilding our military from the last 8 years of sequestration that has, has damaged our readiness. So I think this is a very good chance that we'll see that signed, and new construction jobs, and expansion at NASIC.
Which is, you kind of touched on my next question. If the president signs this bill, what are some of the changes do you think we can expect to see?
Well, NASIC has been adding about 100 jobs a year, and they've been doing so, though, in very limited and cramped quarters. They will be able to expand their missions, look to our near-peer competitors. You know, since they look at both space and air, they look at China, Russia, they look at Iran and North Korea. A lot of what we know about the threats from those countries comes from the hard work of the men and women at NASIC right here in Dayton, Ohio.
And when you talk about threats from other countries, I know you work very closely with Wright-Pat on the North Korean intelligence issues and things going on there. Right now, there are reports that North Korea is still building missiles. You've always been sort of a skeptic when it comes to this. To say cautiously optimistic or hopeful. Does this sort of confirm your uneasiness, and at what point should we worry that they're not doing what they promised?
Now, this is going to be a long process, obviously. Even in Iran, in the deal that was done there, the nuclear material that was removed from Iran takes a very long time to coordinate that as it would in North Korea. They're much more advanced than Iran was, so obviously there's a greater degree of care that has to go there. We do see our missing in action, our Korea War veterans remains being returned from North Korea. That's a good sign. That was part of what was discussed with Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. But yes, I see the intelligence, and I see every day that North Korea has been making significant investment in weapons that are intended to threaten the United States itself.
How much time do we give them?
Well, you know, our ultimate goal, obviously, is no conflict and denuclearization. As long as they're taking steps in that direction and we have the international community behind us, I think we're going to be making progress. The key is keeping pressure on them. We have international sanctions that are crippling on them, at the same time that we have a military buildup that's occurring, so we have military capability there. I think we certainly don't lessen the pressure during the period of time that we're waiting for them to come to a deal with us and then comply.
And I want to move on to the issue of PFAS, because this is something that we've been talking about for months. We've been staying on top of this story. What do you think we need to be concerned about PFAS showing up in our drinking water?
Well, it certainly is a chemical that the EPA has indicated is a threat, and I've been on the federal level trying to force the EPA to make public the information so that communities like ours can assess what the risks might be, and individuals can assess what the risks might be. You know, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, there was PFAS that was used. The city of Dayton itself had used PFAS at its training facilities. The monitoring wells at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base had detected PFAS, but the actual drinking water well shut down before PFAS was tested there. It's not coming from there in our drinking water because that well is not operational.
It's not coming from Wright-Pat.
It is not coming from Wright-Pat. So you have to look then into other areas. We've asked because we need to know how much is the threat, where is it coming from. We've asked Miami Valley Regional Planning to take a look at all the data that we have concerning monitoring wells, water wells, possible sources of PFAS, map this for us as a community so we can put together a strategic plan and an action plan for this.
So what are the next steps? Talking with Miami Valley Regional Planning, finding out basically at this point we don't even know where it's coming from.
Right. So the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission is doing the mapping. They're taking the data from the local communities, from all the water wells, so that we can determine what are the levels that are present, how is it getting into our water, if it is and where, and how do we then address it. The key is the water is safe. We want to keep the water safe, and we want to do so by using the best science, best modeling, and taking action.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. Our time right now.